Good evening. Can you hear me? You can hear me? All right. Welcome to the final event in the Latino Latin American Studies series on social engagement or compromiso social. My name is Corey Schaus. I'm the director of Latino Latin American Studies here at St. John's and St. Ben's. I want to start with the land acknowledgement and reminding us all that both the College of St. Benedict and St. John's University occupy the original homelands of the Dakota and the Anishinaabe peoples. We honor, respect, and acknowledge the indigenous peoples forcibly removed from this territory whose connection remains today. St. Benedict's Monastery and St. John's Abbey previously operated boarding schools for Native children. Now, students, faculty, and staff are working to repair relationships with our Native Nations partners. I want to remind you before I introduce our speaker that the last event in our series is on April 23rd, which will be another not so academic, more hands-on activity. So the first event in the series was students and faculty planting pollinator garden plants and flowers. Those have been growing and from seedlings in the greenhouse, and on April 23rd at 6 p.m. In front of the Seton Townhome Courtyards at St. John's, we are going to inaugurate a monarch butterfly garden. So this semester has both hands-on in the most literal sense and activism in the social sense is this theme. Tonight's special guest is Maria Constanza Carballo. She's an Argentine artist who's lived in Minneapolis since she was a kid. She's best known for her acrylic paintings as well as her murals, which make public appeals to highlight the lives of invisible and marginalized populations in our communities. Much of her work is inspired by her own bicultural and bilingual upbringing as an immigrant to the South Minneapolis neighborhood of Phillips. She began painting murals at the age of 13 and has since been recognized as a statement maker. Her work combines aesthetics and community activism. I think it's fair to say that where one starts, the other begins. She frequently collaborates, like tonight, she's going to talk about the work that she's done with Marco and other women artists to bring attention to the inequities that groups face in all sectors of society. Her recent projects in Minnesota include both solo and collaborative murals in Minneapolis. Some of you may have seen these without knowing them. She's got a work in Van Cleve Park. She's got a work along the East Lake Corridor in Minneapolis. She had a pretty important billboard on George Floyd Square, and there are also a series of indoor and outdoor murals in St. Paul. There's one that I saw that I particularly liked called Movimiento, that you did in the Payne-Phelan neighborhood. That was super beautiful. She's also shown her work in more traditional venues, including the Minneapolis Institute of Art and the Second Shift Studio, where she has done several stints as artist in residence. Her most recent series, The Monar Children, gives specific importance to the ongoing crisis at the U.S.-Mexico border, where migrant families are separated and children are placed in cages. The series depicts real images of children facing these tragedies as monarch butterflies, while also telling the story of actual monarchs who travel every year during their famous migration. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Constanza Carballo.
Hola, muchas gracias por tenerme aquí. Thank you for having me here today. And thank you, Marco Agüero. He's my partner in crime in all the murals and the community projects that we do. And so today we want to show a little bit of our process and what we do with the murals. And so it's talking about how to explore community, engage muralism, because we feel that communities are united through art. And that's what happened when I started learning community art. That art is a really powerful tool to bring people together, no matter if you speak the language or not, what gender you are, or what culture, or what country you come from. Beautifying a corner in your neighborhood uplifts everybody. La cosita? Okay. And here we are showing a few of the pictures in action. The two on the left are from the Payne Avenue mural, which is gonna be a house of jazz, and it's gonna be House of Payne. And in the middle, Marco and I were fortunate enough to go to Cuba this January in Santiago de Cuba, and we did a mural through El Taller Luis Díaz Cultural Eduardo, and it's a biannual international mural conference in Santiago de Cuba. And I'm gonna pause a little bit so I can let Marco introduce himself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Marco Agüero. I'm actually from Costa Rica. I've been in Minnesota since 2004. I'm a visual artist, but I actually work as a tattoo artist. That's my main job. I met Constanza a few years back, and she introduced me to this whole mural art activism. So ever since, I don't know, 3 years ago, so 4, I don't know, something like that, we've been creating public art, and it's been quite a ride because a lot of the pieces, a lot of mural, the public art, we have to engage with the community. So it's a little bit different of, doing, I don't know, art by yourself, in a sense that you kind of have some control, but it's not really your art. So this is kind of like some of the stuff we want to talk about today.
Okay, so then the definition of community engaged muralism and the importance of the community involvement is because it's referring to the collaborative process of creating murals with a community setting. It involves the active participation from the local residents, artists, stakeholders, and the goal is to reflect the community values, stories, identities through the visual art. So as a teenager, the reason why I got invited is because in Phillips neighborhood, they had a summer project. And at first I was kind of mad because it was employment for youth at risk. And I didn't like that name because I just felt like, well, what are we at risk for? And why are you calling us that? But then I still accepted because I was intrigued, and it was a money opportunity as well. And that's when I realized that there were mentor women artists and mentors of color, and that's where I learned that here you can be valued and you can have a career in art. And it was a way to show the outside world that the youth in Philip had talent, we had values, and we had, besides vulnerabilities, we also had a lot of strength to share with the outside world. ¿Quieres dar esta parte?
So in this part, talking about the importance of involving the community, I guess like one of my most important experiences with this process, and we're probably gonna talk a little more about that, was this mural we created in Cuba. So there was 3 teams working in the Santiago area, and the team that we were part of, we were assigned to a specific neighborhood. It's called the Santa Ursula neighborhood, which is a part of Santiago that has a very rich Afro-Cuban tradition. So sometimes one, as an artist, you have an idea of like what an art piece is gonna look like, what it's supposed to, colors, composition. But then you need to be reminded that basically you're creating art for a specific group of residents, because they are the ones who are gonna see it every day. They are the ones who are gonna, we came back to the States. They are the ones left with whatever piece we create. So it was a very interesting experience because at the beginning we created a draft with a lot of flags and things, and we thought, well, this is gonna look super cool. And as we got involved with some of the community, we were told, yeah, you probably don't want to put this in a mural because this represents this and this and this and that, and you're like, oh, because sometimes you're thinking it just looks cool, but then you're reminded, yeah, you can't do that here because no,
Yeah, and that's because in that area there was a protest where a lot of people died, and so they wanted to make sure that we didn't put anything that looked like protest because they didn't want to be reminded of that. And that's what I think is beautiful about community murals because it brings the input of everyone and it starts dialogues within different generations and different people that maybe before they wouldn't have never talked about or to each other. So then to kind of contrast a little bit, or for the ones that don't know murals too much, we wanted to compare it to the similarities of an art collage because we feel that they both involve the layering of visual elements. It's an emphasis on storytelling and symbolism, and it celebrates the diversity and individual contributions. And I always feel that public murals are an open book of the people, and they are for the people, by the people, and with the people. And I always felt that the process of the mural is the enrichment part, and the product usually turns out beautiful. It's better than an empty wall with no images, and it helps the people in the neighborhood increase their pride or take care of the grass and the flowers around the murals. And this is a shot of the mural that we did for Payne Avenue on the east side of St. Paul. And here it was, I also feel that the murals kind of captivate what's happening in real life during that time in that area. And this is around the time where George Floyd got murdered, and some of the walls where they had the image of George Floyd were getting vandalized. And so this was our way to be part of that dialogue. And for example, on the left side with the trumpet is Louis Armstrong when he was a little kid. And that to us represented kind of the opposite of I can't breathe, because to blow a trumpet, you have to be able to have good lungs and you have to be able to breathe and blow. And so it was a way for us to show, like, if you let them breathe, beautiful life and culture and everything comes out of us. And then because it's gonna be called House of Pain, we wanted to put the two hands representing shelter, representing the dualism of the night and the day, the female, the male, the union of the left and right. And then we put the bees on the background because it's in a very busy cross corner. And we thought that the bees represent the cross-pollination of the cultures that happen in that area. And of course, I had to sneak the monarch children to represent how we all migrate. And we should all, just because in Minnesota there is a big movement of helping monarchs, eat and migrate and have strength. And so to me, it's reflecting like humans also need to migrate, and you should help us along the way too.
Yeah, talking a little more about the technical parts of the mural. So this mural was done in a technique called polytab, which is a fabric, polyester fabric, that you basically, the easiest way to explain it is you paint it beforehand, and then you go to the wall and just stick it like a puzzle, like a wallpaper. So, it's an interesting technique because it allows you to work on your studio. So the technique was invented thinking about places like Minnesota where, gets cold. So a lot of times you cannot just be on a wall, doing your thing. So it allows you to maybe during the winter months to work in your studio, and then spring comes, and then you go and like. So it's it's a little, I don't know. We have like mixed feelings with the technique because it kind of takes away a little bit of that being in the neighborhood painting, talking to the people. But at the same time, given the weather we enjoy in this part of the world. So I don't know, it's just kind of like another interesting like trick, another good technique to know, research, yeah.
And this is a little bit of the image comparison between a collage and the design of a mural. The one on the right is the one that we did in Cuba that they thought it was, well, they made sure that it didn't look like a protest, but then they said, oh, if you add instruments and cornetas, I don't know how to say that in English. Who? Horns, yeah. Then it turns into a conga, and that neighborhood is known for congas, and so then everybody was happy with that.
So to talk a little bit about our process, we use a lot of digital, just because it's more, efficient. But at the end of the day, it's a collage, basically. You take different images, layer them together, and it's very interesting because a mural, there was a lot of artists involved, so you kind of have like a general idea what it's gonna look like. But what it ended up looking, I mean, kind of like the same idea, but quite different, to be honest.
Yeah, because we start digitally sometimes, but then it's always by hand, once we're out there on the wall or on the building. So then a few overviews of specific mural projects is the process of community involvement and collaboration and some of those key characteristics of the community. It identifying and expressing the key characteristics of the community through art, addressing questions like historical significance, demographics, and cultural heritage. So in a lot of the workshops with the community, sometimes after the icebreaker, we always ask, what does this community have to offer you? And we always say there is no right or wrong answer, we're just gathering answers. And when everybody goes around saying what the community offers to them, then we always ask, and now tell us, what do you have to offer to this community? Because it's a two-way highway.
All right, so to talk a little bit about the storytelling and the symbolism. So the mural we did, it was for a dance academy. It's called the Kutumba, and they focus in Afro-Cuban dances. So we decided to go with the conga, which is a big party they do in Cuba. But it came, it was brought to our attention the fact that in that area there was a specific protest where a lot of people die. So the community was like, you guys need to make sure that if you paint a bunch of people gather, it doesn't look like they are angry or they're protesting or. So we decided, and that's where you get involved with the community, because we had quite a few of the artists were actually local residents. And they were like, okay, what happens in a conga? What is like a characteristic? And then they explained to us, they use these red cane-likes, garabatos. It has to do with the Yoruba tradition, the Afro-Cuban religion. So if you put those, it's symbol that people recognize immediately, okay, this is a big party. It's not people are not protesting or it's not a violent thing, it's actually a celebration. We also got invited to see a performance of the Kutumba ballet. And we were taking pictures and talking to the musicians and trying to decide, okay, what images, what represents better this community. So we were told about the guy doing the dance with the traditional African drum. It was like a healing ceremony. I mean, you, as a spectator, you watch a lot of this stuff and you're like, okay, I don't know what's happening. It looks like the guy's dying. Looks like he's being, healed. So you kind of have to ask, and that was a big part of how we got involved with the community for this mural.
Yeah. And this is the wall where the mural took place in Santiago de Cuba. And inside that building is where they do all their performances and their practices. And it's right on one of the most busy corners of that neighborhood. And this is some of the images from the performance that we got to see while we were researching and taking pictures for the mural design. So a lot of the performance are on the mural, and they felt really proud that we used their images and their moves.
So this is our first, our first draft. It was a very interesting because it was, artists from Argentina, me, Costa Rica. There was very famous muralists from Mexico. So it was all these different ways to do things. Like I said earlier, we're used to do more digital. And our friend from Mexico is like, no, I need pen and paper. I need to see this, like I need to draw. So, okay. That was kind of like our first draft. So, like the people and then all the different perspective points. And so just to show how from something like this, things evolve to what is like the actual final mural.
Yeah, and our colleague from Mexico was really happy to see that we took a picture of his sketch, and then we could use it in the iPad and add to it and change it, and he was blown away. So, because at first he was like, why are we using technology? And then he ended up saying, Marco, teach me. And so this is still part of the process, and because in Cuba you don't always have access to a lot of technology tools, we didn't have a projector or extension cords or nothing like that. So it is a good thing that our friend from Mexico and I kind of used to do this too by hand, where you do the grid on the wall, on the paper, and then you hand draw it. So that's how we got to the wall part.
So this is the mock-up that we presented to the community. Basically, sort of this is what the mural is going to look like. Again, I feel like technology is just one tool, to achieve a task. But in our case, it comes to show like how efficient you can be with like, because you do 3 clicks on an iPad and here we go. This is what it, So they were all like blown away, like what?
Yeah. And then these are some examples of how the paint comes in Cuba sometimes, because you can't just go to Sherwin-Williams and get gallons, So you gotta find somebody that's willing to produce the paint, and then they usually bring it to you in old used water bottles or something. But we got the job done, so that's good. And then this is part of, when the kids got out of school, they would stop by the mural and ask if they could do a brush stroke, or the neighbors would say, come sit here and eat your lunch. Or when you get tired, you can take a nap on the scaffolding.
We were also told not to drink while we were painting because the scaffolding was a little bit high, but came to find out like Cuban, they like their rum and they see you painting, they have to offer you, and you cannot say no, so.
And this is the example of why I love community murals. Because out of nowhere, the lady from the store came out with her thermo full of coffee and was like, "You all need a shot of coffee." Or the neighbor said, "Don't eat outside on the street. Come inside my home and sit at the table." And so that's part of the process that I feel that community muralism brings people together, and you make friends that you would have never thought you would have being on the street and with the people.
So when it comes to diversity, like I said, the mural was inspired on the dance that they performed. We got involved, like, kids. There was neighbors, like, bringing coffee, bringing rum. There was people watching our stuff while we were working. There was people making sure that, we could store all our supplies. The picture in the middle was the team involved in this mural. So the guy, Paulo from Mexico, Carlota, the lady with the glasses, the mirror glasses. She's also an Argentine artist.
She lives in Rochester, so I
Wow.
met her doing murals.
Then Gretel, the lady all in black. She's a local Cuban artist. Then Constanza, I'm, myself.
And these are some of the images from when the mural was almost done with the last touches. And those are all the performances from the Kutumba.
So just to point out, it's kind of like the idea that we draft, but quite a bit different. We decided there was, where the guy with the drums, there was an empty space. So out of the blue, somebody suggested, let's put a couple of palm trees. So let's do palm trees.
And then here, I always try to remember when we got to this corner, they were using it as a bathroom, like they were peeing all over in that corner, and there was garbage everywhere. And after a week of being out there and painting and working, the neighbors and everyone started sweeping and cutting the grass, and they were so happy that we were on that corner working to bring attention to it or beautify it. And that they had a big conga at the end to celebrate. So that was amazing, getting all the people to be on the streets and playing the instruments and dancing and even doing some of the performance. And this was a quote from one of the residents in Santa Ursula. They said the community felt complimented because they felt seen and appreciated. And that's something that some of the people tell us, that when they see us out there doing a mural, they feel it's us doing community appreciation and quiet activism.
And again, it's a very different kind of art because, like I said, as an artist, sometimes we get a little cocky or a little, like I study art, so I know, and this is what I'm gonna do, and this is what is gonna look cool. And in these kinds of projects, it's like, no, you're actually working with other artists and working with the community, so you kind of have to put away a little bit of that, pride or whatever, and be like, okay, I'm just gonna be a tool to do what the community feels is gonna represent them. So it's quite an enriching experience, and it's very different than, say, doing an art piece for yourself.
Oh, and this was to wrap up, like if we were comparing a community mural to an art collage, it underscores their shared focus on the storytelling and collaboration, highlighting the diverse voices and perspectives within a community, Both mediums emphasize the transformative power of art in fostering unity, empowerment, and inclusivity among community members. And we're open for questions. I don't know if anyone has questions or comments. Yeah.
How long does a mural take, like, from like the point you like put a brush to the wall until it was finished?
So the one in Cuba, it was a 3-week mural conference. So it had to be done in 3 weeks. Yeah, that one was pretty fast. But sometimes I worked in murals that take a year. Others take 3 months, so you never know. And it all depends about the resource, the time, and the place. ¿Alguien más? Yes?
Got a couple. First of all, were you commissioned to do the piece in Cuba?
No, it's all volunteer. We pay our way, we bring materials, we do the work.
And the second one is, did you bring any more pictures of other pieces that you have done?
We have, I don't know if this allows us. I did have a video with all the other ones, but I don't know if we'll be able to do it here. ¿Lo tenés en tu email? No? No. Yeah. Yeah, we can't show the video, I guess. Sorry.
I might be able to open my email, but that might be weird in front of all these people.
Yeah. Yes.
What determines like which communities you can paint murals in? Is it like community will ask you, or like community asks them?
Yeah, I think it's both. Sometimes the communities propose a mural and they do the call for artists, for people to apply. And sometimes we propose it. Like sometimes if we see a place that, has a great wall and it's got public access to everyone, then sometimes we try to write grants and propose it to the community.
Something interesting about that is, because a lot of times we apply for, say the city of Minneapolis put out call for artists for a specific type of mural. So the challenge with us being, immigrants, well, English is not our first language. So a lot of times they ask for they want an artist letter explaining your connection to the community. You know what I mean? So I have to go into Google and Google, okay, what is an artist letter? Okay, this is what it is. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I have to use AI because I'm like, okay, can you please write an artist letter explaining how we like to do this, and that. Please make me sound intelligent. Make me sound that I know what I'm talking about. Because it's almost like the whole, how can you say it? Because my thing is art, my thing is put paint in walls and do pictures and not so much, oratory or being able to communicate myself that well. So that presents a lot of challenges because sometimes you're qualified to do the job, but then they want a very specific letter written a certain way, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, so I don't know if you can tell, but it's really hard for us to talk. we do the painting. Yes.
I think I have a student who's going to help me get past my boomer limitations and get into the I'm jealous, I'm selfish, and I want them to see your other stuff too, because it's really worth it.
Thank you. I also do have, we have Instagram. She's Bilingue Art on Instagram, and you can see some of the stuff there, if you have Instagram. Okay, so this is a little example of the one for Minneapolis Institute of Art. We did every year since 2019, I try to organize International Women's Day on March 8th. And when I say women, I mean anybody that identifies as such, regardless of their biological gender given at birth. And it's a day to raise awareness to all the struggles and all the successes that we faced as women in all different sectors of, society. And I always try to have an art experience event for International Women's Day. And because it was pandemic, we had to do it virtually for the MIA. And that's one of the pieces for the Monarch children. That's an actual kid getting booked with her little doll at the border. And then, so then I always put their title, Fragility versus Strength. And that's an example, like who is strong and who is fragile, who is in greatest danger. In crisis, how do we retain our humanity if we have power or if we do not? And then survival versus extinction. This was a piece that I did. Where I'm from in Argentina, we drink mate, it comes in a bag. That's perfect for painting. So every time my mom or my aunt finished the yerba mate, they always give me the bags. And that was at the beginning, too, of the pandemic. And so I wanted to do one, how we need to protect our future. And it's another Monarch children. And then there's one more, but this one was a collaboration with an artist named Claudia Valentino, and we did this piece together for this event, and it was called Shut Up, Bitch, the Noise No One Hears. And you can't see it all because it cut off. But in the hair, we have all kinds of things that you hear as women sometimes when you're walking on the street, like loca, histérica, frígida, gorda, fea, puta, feminazi. And what's funny is that the place that we were going to show it in real life, they didn't want us because they said it wasn't kid-friendly or family-friendly. And so they wanted me to put duct tape on all the words. And I'm like, no, like I'm not putting duct tape on the painting. And so then my friend from Cuba, I brought her up here for International Women's Day in 2020. She said, let's put a black cloth on top of the painting. And then we did a QR that brought you to the painting if you scanned it. And it turned out okay because all the women and people that were at the show, they would actually peek and grab it and look at it. And then one woman said to another one, I think they're doing this because of all the females that are getting murdered, and they're doing it as a way of, grieving. So it worked. And that's a little bit of my other work. But yeah, the video didn't work, so I can't show you the video, sorry. Yeah, I'm not sure if anybody has more questions or comments. Yeah?
So like, obviously murals take a lot of time, but how do you get the ideas? Does it take a while beforehand? Do you know what you're doing before you get there? How's that process work?
Well, when we do community murals, we don't know anything except the wall, because we get all the ideas out of the community workshops and the conversations, and those discussions are the ones that start the designing, and then we show the rough draft, and then we give them a chance to give us feedback, tell us what to add or what, if there's something that cannot be on it, And then that's how we get to the design. Now, if it's a commercial mural for a nightclub, a restaurant, or something like that, then yeah, then you can play and do whatever you want. It's kind of like painting one of your things without any input. Yeah, good question.
There was another muralist who spoke here a year ago or two who talked about, and there has a difference between a mural meaning a community collaboration and a painting on a wall being a different thing. Do you make that kind of distinction, or do you think of them as interchangeable?
No, I usually say it should be a story, and it should have certain composition elements, because sometimes I do feel that some people do a large painting and they call it a mural. And so, yeah, I always make the distinction that a mural should tell a story, and to me, a mural should incorporate the people that's part of that story. No sé vos, if you have other thoughts.
I was just wondering, what do you think is the most rewarding mural that you guys have done?
I don't know that I can pick one because they each have their magic, and each community is so different that I feel like with every mural, it's something new, something rewarding. And I mean, of course, painting, I think it's more rewarding for me painting in areas that don't have that much resources, or that really need to, like, you know, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I would love to paint a mural in Phillips or North Minneapolis compared to Edina or Minnetonka, you know, where I feel like they have their access. But sometimes, you know, on the other hand, I think that maybe painting a mural in Edina or Minnetonka would be nice to bring awareness to them and a different exchange. So, yeah, I don't know. Hard question. Do you have a favorite?
The one, well, for me personally, the one in Cuba, definitely. Because I never seen like the community react to something that we created in such a way. Like they threw up like a street party with like, I mean, yeah. So just knowing that you were part of that process and the people like appreciate it and they are like thankful is an incredibly rewarding experience.
Yeah, so I definitely encourage to get involved in the mural that they're organizing here, because I think you would have a great experience.
Excellent. Let's give them one more round of applause.